All right, take two. Wait for a few people to tune in. Let me know in the comments if everything's working. I have no idea what happened there. Sorry about that, guys. Wait for a few more people to tune in. Let me know if the sound or the visual's not cutting out, and we can get into it. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Let me know if this is better and if the sound's coming through and everything. Great. Cool. I'm not sure what happened there. Must have been the internet, or everyone's in stage 5 lockdown and using the internet. So it's probably just the crazy world that we live in at the moment. And hopefully you're all healthy and you're all well. I know it's been a bit of a hectic week, but at least we've got football to look forward to, and at least that can distract us from all the shit that's going on in the world. Henry's just letting me know that Stubbs dominating for Geelong, which is great, but irrelevant because this is a big game tomorrow night, guys. This is a really important game. We're playing the Gold Coast Suns at Metricon. This is a chance to go second on the AFL ladder, thanks to Brisbane losing yesterday. So that means that if we win, no matter what happens for the rest of the round, I'm pretty sure we would stay at least second, worst case third, depending on percentage. But this is a really important game. It's not going to be easy. Gold Coast have been very up and down recently. I think they've only won 1 out of their last 5, whereas we've won 4 of our last 5. So form-wise, very different stories. But in terms of, the potential to be a very good team, I think Gold Coast have got the making of that. I've got a list of some of their key players here that we'll talk about. But first, let's go through the ins for the Saints, which I'm very happy with. There's a few iffy ones. I mean, if you look at it, we'll go through it now. But Ben Long's back, which is fantastic. He's back after 3 weeks of being suspended. He's a definite starting 18 player in that back pocket. He was phenomenal before that suspension. Me, along with most of you, would probably agree that 3 weeks was very harsh for the bump that he the bump from the Fremantle game. But the good thing is he's back, so we're immediately strengthened there. Dean Kent's back, and I think that makes us stronger. The people that had to make way, unfortunately, were Matty Parker. And I mean, I say unfortunately, but to be fair, in the 2 games that Matty Parker got a chance to really cement his spot in the team, I don't think he really did that. You look at players that are in similar positions, like a Loney, like a Kent, like a Nick Hind, these sort of blokes. They've had their chances, and you look at Hind, he's taken that chance. He's excellent. He can go through the midfield. He kicks his 3 goals all on his opposite foot last week. Jack Loney's done a few nice things, but then he dropped away, and that's what saw him being omitted. So you can see that the forward line of Kent, Butler, and Hind are the mix that we're going with for now, as opposed to what it was, which was kind of a Parker, Loney, Hind, or Butler, Loney, Kent. So I think Ratton's probably preferring this forward line. To be fair, I think I do too. For some reason, Kent, even though a lot of people do, he does have his haters, and a few people have commented already. I think that he gets more of the ball than Loney. I think that he hits the scoreboard more than Loney. I don't know, he's got a bit of speed about him. He doesn't look like he's a fast bloke, but every time he gets the ball, he seems to get away from his opponent pretty well. And when he's confident, his field kicking's pretty good. When he swings onto that left foot and goes for King in the top of the square, King's going to get it most of the time. Whereas Loney, you struggle to see how he kicks over 40 metres at times. So I think this is probably one of the strongest forward lines we've fielded this season. So I'm really looking forward to it. The unfortunate omission was Shane Savage. He comes out because Ben Long comes in. It's not that Shane Savage, it's not like he didn't do his job last week. I thought he did really well last week. I thought he played his position perfectly. He did do a few long bombs that I was like, fuck, here we go. But that's who he is. That's his post. That's how he plays. But it worked most of the times. He bombed it to the square, battle marked it with gold. So there were times where it was right to bomb, and he picked those times. I think it's just unfortunate that Long's back. This shows the depth that this team has now. Even if you have a good game, if there's someone that's definitely starting 18 coming back and he plays in the position that you're playing in, sorry, mate, but you're going to have to come out, and then you're going to have to hopefully wish that someone gets injured or, Long's form drops. And I think this is what keeps us, working hard and playing well, is that even though Long comes in, he knows that Savage had a good game last week. So he's thinking, okay, I'm back this week. I've had 3 weeks off, but it all starts again. I need to earn this spot. I need to cement myself in this team. I can't take my position for granted, because if I drop off, players like Savage, if Hine drops off, Matty Parker's back in, or Loney's back in, there's players in the wings that are waiting to come in, which is really exciting. So this to me is one of the strongest lineups we've had for the year. And it's interesting saying that, because you're missing Hanbury, you're missing Ross, but we've had players go into midfield and cover it. They've covered those positions. Our midfield is full of depth. We don't need Seb Ross in this game. I said in the podcast that, it wouldn't surprise me if he missed this game. He's not even in the emergencies, by the way, guys. So there's no chance of him coming in, even as a late in. But I said in the podcast during the week that bring him in against Geelong, give him another game off. And if anything, if I were him, I'd be a little worried, because if we have a strong performance tomorrow and our midfield's humming like it was last week without him, who's to say that he misses, he's not an automatic in at all, by any means when it comes to next week on Monday night. Even, it might take a few injuries, but he's not the first mid that's picked in the team anymore. You'd pick Steele, Jones, Gresh, Billings. You'd pick 4 or 5 players ahead of Seb Ross right now, which is crazy considering he's a best and fairest winner, and they aren't. But that shows the direction we're moving in. We're moving away from the workman-like mids, and we're going for class, we're going for pace, we're going for precision, good kicks. Those are things that at times he's lacked, so it's nothing on him. It's just that everyone's lifted so much that it's really hard to fit him into the team right now. In terms of the Gold Coast and how they've been going, I think they're on 4 wins potentially, 16 points. They're outside the 8. I was looking through their stats and just wanted to see where their strengths lie, and they're 5th in the league for tackles, which I think is ahead of us, by the way, so their pressure's up. But the one that stood out to me that I think that we can exploit is that they're number 1 in the league for clangers. So they make the most mistakes out of any team, whether that's because they take the game on recklessly and they're going for really risky kicks into the middle of the ground that aren't there. We'll wait to, it remains to be seen tomorrow night. But I think if our pressure game's on, and it has been for pretty much every game this season, guys, we had a record 28 tackles inside 50 alone last week. If we match that tomorrow night, Gold Coast are not getting it out of our forward 50, and we're going to kick a massive score. But my point is, if they're number 1 for clangers and our pressure's up, you know what that means. That means that they're not going to be, they're not coping with pressure as it is, because they've turned the ball over a lot. And they did it against GWS. GWS got the turnover and scored heavily on turnover. If you look at our stats, we score heavily on turnover. We did it against Port, we did it against Adelaide, we definitely did it against the Swans. The second we get the ball at a critical point at the half-back flank sort of mark, and we run in waves forward, that's a turnover. We score, I think the stat was crazy last week. It was at least over 50%. That's crazy. Whereas, on the flip side, when we cough up the ball, we conceded, I think, 1 goal from the turnovers last week, which is crazy low. And that's what David King was alluding to in the commentaries, that, it's great when St Kilda get the ball and they turn it over and they run in waves and it's free-flowing and it's exciting and they score from it. But the more impressive thing is, when we turn the ball over, we're not slow getting back. We work hard to slow it down in the midfield so that our backmen aren't exposed. And it's not like we're all pushing up anyway. Our backmen actually stay back a little bit. Same with our forward line. Our forwards don't push too far up. Our backs don't push too far up. That means that everyone's in a position to attack. So when we turn it over, and we do that a lot, we're not, it used to be shit, under Richo, you turn the ball over, everyone's defensive side, and you've got to hold the ball up, and you can't actually go forward because the opposition has a few defenders just resting there with no one there. We'd push that high up. Now, King stays back, so there's always an opt-out kick. Butler stays close to King, so there's always that ground ball pressure. We're playing a much smarter game under Ratton. So I think that if all things, if we play the way we did last week, guys, I genuinely think we win our 4th in a row and we go to 2nd on the ladder. It's just a matter of complacency. There's nothing against Gold Coast. I think they've got the making of a very good team. I've got a list of some of their key players that I think we need to control to make sure that we're in this game and that we can win it. And that's Greenwood. He's a contested beast. He's led from the front in terms of centre clearances, in terms of tackles. I think he's number 1 in the league by a fair way in tackles. Second is, I think, Jack Steele. And I think Greenwood's about 10 to 15 tackles ahead of Steele. So that shows how good Greenwood's going. They've got Took Miller, who's a workhorse. He gets at least 20 touches every week. He uses the ball very well. He's got a bit of pace. I think we're going to have to watch him very closely. Then you've got, obviously, the one we want to see is Ben King v Max King. Whether they line up on each other at any end of the ground, I don't know. I'd love to see Ben go on Max because I think Ben was actually drafted as a backman. He was more the forward back compared to Max, who was really just a forward. But the fact that they get to play against each other when they both grew up as Saints, they're trained in the backyard, they're identical twins, and then they get to play an AFL game against each other in Queensland. That's a special moment for both of them, and hopefully Ben has a fun, nice game, but not a win, and he doesn't kick a bag. So you see Dougal Howard's going to match up on him straight away, whereas then Carlisle probably goes on Sam Day, and I think that works. We need to be a bit more mobile, so Dougal Howard on Ben King makes sense, and then Sam Day is a good contested mark, but he's not mobile, he's not fast. Same with Carlisle, just man up on him and punch the ball out of bounds every time you get. But the main plays that I think we need to watch, Rankin, I think that Ben Patton probably goes to him, or Sexton. They've got two good smalls. We've got some good smalls down the other end. They've got some dangerous smalls as well. So we need to be on point. Whether Geary takes Rankin and Patton takes Sexton, I don't know. But Patton played on Papley last week and did a phenomenal job. He's the general down there. Doesn't say much. Doesn't get all the recognition that he deserves. But, internally he's very highly rated. So I think he probably takes the better of the two smalls. I don't know. Sexton's been good. Rankin's been explosive since his debut. So it's going to be very tough there. And then you've got Witts. So this is where I hope Paddy Ryder pulls up for the game. Because if he does, it's his 250th. So congrats to him. If he plays, it'll be his 250th game. Big milestone for Paddy. He's been in great form helping out the prospect Marshall. And they've got Witts, who's a very good ruckman. He's probably top 5 in the league for hitouts, I'd say. In fact, I think he's probably top 5 in the AFL for hitouts. If we can go in with the two-pronged ruck duo again, in terms of Marshall and Paddy Ryder, who they're starting to get an understanding of each other's games. They're starting to hit the scoreboard and they're starting to dominate ruckmans that, when teams only have the one standalone ruckman. And we did that last week. We did it against Port. We did it against Adelaide. So they're full of momentum. So I'm hoping that his hand is recovered, because I know last week it looked like he hurt it and there was a chance that he'd potentially miss. He could still be a laid out, but if he pulls up, this puts us into a really strong position to take the game on and to play our game, because I think if we play our best, we almost beat most teams in the league. I don't want to be arrogant about it, but we've proven it. We've beaten Port, we've taken care of the Bulldogs, and we've smashed Richmond. And Richmond and Port looking great right now. So our form against some good teams stacks up. Our form against bottom teams, it stacks up at times, but you don't want to drop Fremantle. You don't want to drop this game like you did with Fremantle or North. But for some reason, I just think that the Fremantle game was the line in the sand. We're never going to have that sort of performance for the rest of the season. Every game we play, we're going to treat it with the utmost respect, and we're going to take the game on and just go for the jugular. And if we do that again tomorrow, it's going to be hard for Gold Coast. They need to make sure that they negate those turnovers, because if they give it to us on the break, we're going to kill them. We usually get turnovers from our pressure, but if teams are just going to cough it up and give it to us, like Sydney did last week, and Gold Coast being the number one clanger team in the league, if they do it, it's going to be a long night for them, and hopefully a big win for us. And the chance to go second after round 10. Then you played Geelong, which is another winnable game on the Monday, followed by Essendon, which is another winnable game. You want to keep this momentum going, and I'm glad that we didn't go for wholesale changes, because I think unless a player is really sore or you suffer an injury, you want to just keep players going, because obviously they've put their hand up and said, yeah, coach, Rats, I'm free, I'm good, I'm ready to play. You don't just drop players and rest them for the sake, just because it's a 4-day break. Some players are fit enough, they're shorter quarters, there's no need to do that. The one person that I haven't really harped on is Seb Ross, who, for the second week in a row doesn't get a game, and I think that's good. That shows the level of competition that our team has. He may come back against Geelong, but I said in the podcast that, he's not one of those players anymore. So there's every chance that he misses for a while, depending on how our midfield goes. With Caulfield going in there now, played a great game last week, the Cough. You've got Hunter Clark moving in there, and he showed some serious signs. Gresham getting back into that form that we all love. He's hitting the scoreboard, but he's getting clearances, he's tackling. You've got Jack Steele, who for me is one of the top 5 midfielders in the league right now. The fact that a lot of news outlets haven't picked him in the All-Australian team, but they've picked Dangerfields and these blokes ahead of him is ridiculous. But we've got good form all over the ground. We've got a strong backline that's standing up. It's young, but it's got the makings of a very solid backline. You've got Caulfield, Clark in there, Dougal Howard, Wilkie. They've all got players that they can man up on. And I think that even though Gold Coast have got a lot of damaging players, we've got equally as many, and we've got players that can actually man up on their players and negate them. That's the beauty of the mobility of this team. Our teams, Josh Battle's a good example. We've got a lot of those players in our team. They can do a lot of different roles. So when we play different opposition, we don't have to make changes to cater for those opposition players. We can just tweak a few things in the game plan, still play our way with the same players, and get the job done. Not many teams have that, that luxury, which I think is really exciting. But enough from me, guys. I think, it's been a good 3 weeks for the Saints. So hopefully they keep up the good form. But let me just go back to the top and we'll go through some of these comments. Everyone's saying that the quality, the audio is better. So that's good to hear. Thanks for that. Adam says, same team or have we made any changes? So for anyone that hasn't heard, Ben Long, Dean Kent are in, and Matty Parker, Shane Savage are omitted. So that is the team. Whether there's a late change, we don't know. This is from Lucas. We're like Richmond in the way that we are able to bring in players who are able to play the role we need them to. The different player wasn't able to do. We've seen this with players who underperformed, being dropped, with Parker being the prime example, losing his spot after 2 games of not performing as well as we would like him to. Great comment. Flynn says we would have loved to seen Savage stay in. I know I thought he had a great game last week. I thought that he did everything that the coaches would have told him to do and more, especially as a late in. He did the job perfectly. If anything, it could have been interesting if we dropped Geary to keep Savage, where the Savage can play a more wing sort of role, more forward attacking sort of role. With Geary there, that probably takes that position away from Savage, but, there's a toss-up between Long, Savage and Geary, and you probably pick, you've got your captain, you're not going to drop him for any reason unless he needs a rest, and then you've got Ben Long, who's probably got that back pocket, half-back flank position down pat, better than anyone in our team at the moment. Dean Kent is no good, says Rory. He's not rating the old Dean Kent, it's raining Kent. Parker needs more time, I guess. That's from Adam. He's getting dropped, but he knows what he needs to do. He clearly didn't execute what the coaches wanted him to do in the 2 weeks that he played. But there's opportunity for him to come back. If a player drops off, if Hines suddenly drops off, if Kent drops off, even if Butler drops off, which probably is not going to happen. Let's face it, he's a star. If those players drop off, Parker's going to get his chance again. That's the thing, that you're not going to just be stuck out in the cold. If a player is not performing and you play their position, we don't have the VFL or anything to go by. We just have to bring them in and put them under pressure to make them perform that way. The pressure of being dropped makes players push and play harder. There are things that Savage did last week, going back with the flight, putting his body on the line, that I don't think he would have done under the Richo team, where he knew that he was playing every week. These pressure, the added pressure on your shoulders to do the little things more, makes a big difference when it comes to selection and whether you play or not. And I think those little things are the reasons why we're performing the way we are and why we're getting all these wins on the board and the score on the board, because we're doing a lot of the little things a lot and well. Keep playing like the top team of the comp. That's from Bill. Adam says throw a 50 on Steele for the Brownlow. Not a bad shout. He'd be up there right now with Lachie Neale, that's for sure. Mikhail says Ken scores in the clutch moments. Loves some late goals. He does. He scored a lot of clutch goals recently against Adelaide. I think he scored a couple against Port as well. Kerry says, I like Kent. I don't know why so many haters. Andrew says Kingy needs to kick 6 this week. Well, they've got a very young back line. You know, they've got a pretty formidable forward line in terms of on paper and the potential they've got there. Decent midfield. Their back line, you know, Lukosius is very good, but they're very inexperienced. So if we can get the ball in there fast, with Membry, he was goalless last week, guys. So Membry's due a big one as well with King. And then you've got Butler, Kent, you've got Nick Hind around there, Gresham resting there. You've got these players going through the forward line. They're going to have their hands full. Flint says, good that Ross is out though, eliminates the silly kick aspect of the side. Well, you know, no offense to Ross, but if you look at our lineup, there's not many bad kicks in the team. You know, you've got, you know, I'd be hard pressed to even say who the worst kick in our current lineup would be. You know, who would it be? Would it be Jake Carlisle? Like, the fact that you can't really pick a dud kick in our team right now is phenomenal. Everyone with the ball in hand can be confident. You know, we don't need a player that can just handball or that just hacks the ball forward and bombs it. Everyone can get the ball, take on someone and actually hit a target by hand or by foot. It's great. That keeps the ball moving. It keeps it in our possession and it makes us more damaging as a side. Seb Ross isn't in our best 22. Potentially. I mean, that's not outrageous to think that he's not in our best 22 right now. Daniel says Longy will be fresh and ready to go. Do you think Geary is a part of our best 22? That's from Ryan. Whew, I don't know. I mean, I think he's our captain. He does more than just what his stats show. I think even last week, you know, the little things. He set up that Max King goal on the goal line. He kicked a goal of his own. His pressure acts were pretty high. Whether he's very verbal on the footy field, I don't know. I'm not on the field, but I've heard that he's very verbal and he controls things and keeps players intact. So you need that on-field leadership, especially when you've got Hanbury and Ross not playing. You know, even though, you know, players, you know, people say that they're not in our best 22, that doesn't mean that they don't exude leadership and confidence when they're on the field, you know. So, and Geary's done a job on a lot of good smalls. So considering that Gold Coast have 2 very good smalls in Sexton and Rankin, we've only got one, you know, we've got Ben Long and Patton to come in. They can probably match up on both of them. But whether you want Geary on one of them and then that frees up someone like Ben Long to push up the ground, use his speed and his foot skills a bit more, that could be an option as well. Damus is tough for Bytel. If he wasn't injured last year, he would have got experience, but now he seems to have to beg for an opportunity. I don't think he has to beg for an opportunity. I just think he needs to be patient and it'll come. You know, our team's very strong through the midfield right now. I don't think we need to just hand players a first game for the sake of it. We're going for a top 4 chance, guys. We're not here just trying to make up the numbers. If we were 12th right now, yeah, you debut Bytel. This is a chance to go second on the ladder more than halfway through a shortened season. You know, so I agree we need to get minutes into some youngsters in case we have some injuries. You can bring them in, but at the same time, you want to play every game to full strength to get the points. And I think we're doing that. And if every player is fit, you know, it's hard to just drop a player for the sake of it, just to give a youngster a game, you know. Going to destroy Gold Coast on turnovers. That's from Andrew. Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Ian says Bytel needs to play in these block of fixtures. He may well play against Geelong. You don't know. We're going to play Thursday night, and then we're playing Monday. It's crazy. You know, I did a podcast on Tuesday. I'm doing a preview now, and then I'm going to do a review tomorrow night. Then I'm probably going to have to do a preview Sunday night ahead of the Geelong game podcast Friday. So it's a jam-packed week. But yeah, there's a tight block of fixtures. Then we've got, I think, Essendon on the Sunday. Whether we bring him in against Essendon, it could well be the case. But there's games there that, you know, we can bring in a Bytel. And the fact that we've got some of that young talent, you know, unproven talent, but it's there in the wings waiting to come in is really exciting. And imagine Bytel coming in and just exceeding all expectations and looking like a beast, like everyone kind of says that he could do. That would add another string to this midfield bow, and that would make us, you know, the depth would be unreal in that position of the ground. You know, we haven't had that sort of depth in a long time. Brandon says, who's liking Battle up forward? I'm going to say yes. I thought that when you're playing teams that have undermanned, undersized backmen, having Battle there stretches them like crazy. You've got Membry who can push up the ground. Then you've got King, Battle, Paddy Ryder, Marshall resting there. At times we have Matty Parker there. These are all players that are over 6 foot. You know, that's crazy. But we didn't look it didn't shortchange our pressure at the ground ball. You know, the fact that we have tools doesn't mean they're not good when the ball hits the deck. A lot of them are really mobile. Membry's mobile. King's phenomenally mobile. Matty Parker's mobile. Battle's mobile. Paddy Ryder's still very mobile beneath the knees. Marshall, we know he's mobile. We've got players that are tall that can use their skills at ground level. And not a lot of teams have that flexibility. They have genuine tools, but then when the ball's at the ground, those tools are useless. But we can keep them in the game because they're good at it, you know, and that really helps us to not have a lot of passengers week in, week out that can only really do one role. We have players that can do multiple roles now. Ian says, Gold Coast not in good enough form. Saints should make it 4 on the trot. Disappointed if they don't. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if we don't win tomorrow, I'm going to probably get on the review and be a bit pissed. You know, unless Gold Coast play a crazy game and, you know, no team in the AFL could beat them on the night, fair kudos, give them the credit that they deserve. But on current form, the way we're playing with the players that we're going to field, yes, it should be a good game, but I feel like we're going to have stages in the game where we're going to be on top and we need to, you know, kick straight and get the job done. We saw Brisbane last night kick 4 goals, 16 or something stupid. Teams like that, if they don't kick straight, they're not going to win a premiership. Our straight kicking, our goal kicking efficiency at the moment is, I think, 65-70% or something. It's crazy. I think we've kicked 101, 102 goals, 47 for the season. That's so straight. We've never kicked that straight. That could alone win us a final, win us a couple of finals. You don't know. If you play at Brisbane, no matter how good Brisbane are, if they're kicking 16 points and 4 goals every week, we go up the other end and take our chances, game over. And we're doing that against all opposition. You know, the opposition are having their moments against us. They don't take it. But how good is it that we can go up the other end and actually take it and hurt them on the break? This is where the Saints can prove they are worthy contenders. That's from Ian. Big chance, mate. This is a consolidation game. Cannot drop these. If we win this, we are 7-3. I said it last week. I think 10 wins gets you finals. We will be on 7 wins already. You probably think 12 wins gets you top 4, maybe 13 wins. We'll be halfway there already, guys. So there's a big chance for us to get the double chance. Not only get into finals for the first time in 9 years, but to actually have a double chance opportunity. And that, you know, more times than not gets you at least into a prelim, which is a huge chance at getting into the big dance. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, guys. Come on, let's take it easy. Witt's 4th for hitouts behind Nick Nat and just ahead of Gawn. Thanks, Kerry. Bartel unlucky to miss. That's from Radley. Kenton long in, Savage and Parker out. That's from Christina. Just letting everyone know who's in and out. Thanks for that. Zach says, love your work, Jakey. Thanks, mate. Hunter, a more mid-time with Long coming back in. I agree, yes. You know, we've got Patton, we've got Long there, and we've got Geary, who's probably going to play a more defensive role. There's 3 backs there. We don't need Hunter Clark there. You've got Caulfield that can do a job as well, along with Wilkie, who can play small and tall. Doesn't matter. So I think Hunter Clark into midfield is going to be very, very nice to see. He's done it in the last couple of weeks, and he's been very good. You know, the fact that he can use both feet, the game slows down when he gets the ball. He's only played 38 or so games in his career. You know, Caulfield's only played 26. Patton's only played about 20 or less. You know, some of these young players, they're not just there doing a good job. They're genuinely the best in their position right now, which is amazing. And we're beating some good teams doing it. So not only are they getting experience, they're getting confidence, and you know, they're locking a position for 200. They're going to be 200 games, 250 games for the Saints, these players. So it's so exciting to see. You know, we've been spoiled for this sort of stuff all year. But again, we've also been spoiled for success in the last... not spoiled, sorry. We've been starved of success for the last 8 or 9 years. So it's timely. Kent was very good last game he played. Good point. Richo's Melbourne are playing tonight. I know it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Melbourne, whether they can topple Adelaide or not. Kings at both ends. Do you believe Geary is in our best 22? I think I already answered this, but it depends on the game. I think he's probably just sneaking into our best 22. You know, whether he's captain next season or not, I don't know. I think he's over 30 now, isn't he? So whether he even goes on next season, I don't know. But he's looking like he can play for another couple of years. Whether it's as a captain, I don't know. but he's always good to take out, a defensive, good attacking player down the other end, or he plays a defensive forward role. So at least he's adding some flexibility to his game. If he couldn't do that, then I think he's probably in trouble and wouldn't be playing as many games as he is now. Can't wait for tomorrow night's game. Go Saints. That's from Jackie. This one's from Cameron. I think the reason Rats has dropped Savage is because he wants the new Saints to play more games together. In saying that, it would have been good to see Savage back out there. That's not a bad shout. Building the team that he thinks can really win a flag. Tim says, I think if we win the next 3 games, we'll be there in the last 1 or 2 games of the finals. Big call, Tim. Mate, that's a big call, but I'm going to hold you to that. Long is mobile. Just broke our membership record. This is great. Oh, did we? Did they post about it, guys? I might actually, is that a genuine fact? Did they post? If we have, then that's freaking amazing, guys. We did it. Well, there you go. We've hit 47,000 members. An all-time record. Phenomenal. That's amazing. That just shows where this club's going. Let's go to 50. Let's get to 60,000. Keep it going. And if anyone's watching tonight that hasn't signed up, you got to sign up, because we're doing some amazing things and we need to support the boys, especially through a big, a growth period that we're going through now, and also the tough times of COVID and everything. Let's support the club and get them through this. And imagine the first game back, whenever it's going to be at Marvel, playing them. Watching them in front of a crowd, fill Marvel Stadium, Saints fans, record memberships, amazing. But I might actually, on that positive note, guys, I might leave it there. Thanks again for watching the preview. It's going to be up on YouTube as well, so if you haven't gotten a chance to watch all of it, head on to Saints TV on YouTube, subscribe and watch it there. The podcast is also out, previewing the game and reviewing last week's game. So if you've got Spotify or Apple accounts or any streaming services, Saints TV podcast and have a listen and enjoy it. But this time tomorrow we'll be, in about 40 minutes, we'll be playing the SUNS to go for a top 2 spot on the AFL ladder to win our 4th game in a row. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for it. You'll see me right after the game, probably around 10:30, whenever the game finishes, for the review. So I'll see you guys then. Until then, take care and go you mighty Sainers.